Welcome back to the Overthinking Podcast, where we take all of your late night social media rabbit holes and turn them into real talk.
Today, we're talking about the supplement that might just be your new workout bestie. You've probably heard of her, maybe you even considered her, but let's be real. There's a lot of confusion around what creatine actually does, who it's for, and whether it'll make you bulky, bloated, or secretly jacked.
And spoiler alert, creatine isn't just for men trying to become the Rock. It's one of the most researched, safest, and actually helpful supplements out there. So we're breaking it all down for you. Is it worth taking? What does it do? Are we all on it now? Let's get into it.
But first,
we prepared a little surprise for you guys. And in my reflections and moving to Chicago, I was like, what have I been doing the last 10 years? And so I looked at the 10 pop culture things that are now 10 years old, and they surprised me. And I think they'll surprise you guys as well. But I'm just going to rapid fire 10 plus a bonus things that are now 10 years old this year. Number one, the Hotline Bling music video for Drake. Do you remember that meme?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
I'm surprised it's only 10.
Yeah. And number two, Snapchat introduced filters, and the dog filter had a chokehold on us.
I missed the flower crown.
Yes. Put me in a field of daisies. Number three, Netflix and chill entered the lexicon. Can you believe we've only been saying that for 10 years?
That's pretty shocking.
It's crazy. The Hunger Games series ended. Taylor Swift embarked on her 1989 tour, which was the last highest grossing tour of 2015. And she popularized the hashtag squad goals. Like she was friends with like Gigi Hadid and like all of those model people.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey was released, which that one really shocked me. I cannot believe that's 10 years old. It feels like it's longer.
It does feel longer. Yeah.
Steve Harvey accidentally announced the wrong Miss Universe. And of course, the internet roasted him for it. Can you imagine you have one job?
And we still remember it, honestly.
Viscerally.
He's infamous.
And then the last few, everyone was filming themselves like the Whip and Nene song. Like even just hearing that was shocking that it was 10 years old.
I immediately go back to that song. Yes.
Amy Schumer got really popular and actually, I don't know if she won an award, but she got an Emmy for Trainwreck 10 years ago.
Not a fan, really.
Yeah, hit or miss. The self-deprecation gets a little bit potent, but
Absolutely.
Love a woman owning her shit.
Sure.
And then number 10, the dress. The dress. The blue and black or the white and gold dress.
Yes, I remember that. I don't know if I ever had an opinion on it, but I'm pretty sure if my memory serves me, it's white and gold.
White and gold for me too. Like that had me questioning every source of identity I had. I'm like, has everything been wrong in the world? And then the bonus one is the Kylie Jenner lip kit craze. And then that viral trend where you suck your lips into the water bottle to make you look like her.
How could we forget?
So crazy. So that long lead in leads us to our this or that. Would you rather have the dog Snapchat filter on in every photo you take for the rest of your life, wedding, trips, whatever?
Oh man.
Or would you rather have to go through 3 rounds of chat roulette every time you open your phone?
What's chat roulette again?
Chat roulette is when anyone on the internet can hop into a chat room and be on video, explicit or not.
Oh, God.
You can do whatever you want. It's a roulette. You hop on and anyone can be on the other side of it.
Oh, God.
Exactly.
Ooh. I'm probably going to do chat roulette and then just hope that I get something not so scary. And
3 times. You have 3 chances every time you open your phone. You have to get
am I allowed to like next it really fast?
You have to enter the room and see what's in there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
How about you?
I mean, the dog filter is pretty great, but
the dog filter is great. But if you think about like your wedding photos, like you don't want to look like a dog, or graduation.
You like had a baby and you have like the dog filter on, peace sign.
That would be pretty funny though. That's funny.
You'd have to just own it. Yeah, I think I'd have to go with the chat roulette. Also like kind of hilarious, but a lot of times we pick up our phones. So I'm still going to go with the 3 times of that one.
That's fair. Let's get into today's topic now that we've gone over the this or that preferences.
So let's talk about what creatine is. Creatine is a natural compound made up of 3 amino acids, arginine, glycine, and methionine. To explain a little more, proteins are made up of 20 amino acids, 11 are non-essential, which are just synthesized in the body, and 9 are essential, which we need to get through our diet. Creatine is produced by your liver and your kidneys, but stored mostly in your skeletal muscles, which is about 95% of it. Your liver and your kidneys are like your filtering organs. You also get creatine from foods like red meat, fish, and then smaller amounts you'd find in like a traditional supplement, and that's why we want to supplement with it. So let's talk about how it works, Kels.
Yeah. So in simple terms, like some of this might sound really sciencey, but we're going to bring it down a few notches because even as we read a lot of these like articles, we're like, okay, I would just prefer to have this digestible. So that's what we're going to do for you. We're that filter. So in simple terms, your muscles use ATP as their primary energy source. So let's say you're doing a workout or you're lifting something overhead or you're taking a walk. Your muscles are going to use ATP to contract and relax circuitously. And the higher the activity, the more ATP you're going to burn. So if you think about like sprinting, you're going to burn a lot more ATP than just like a short walk, right? So creatine helps regenerate ATP faster, especially during those short bursts like sprints. And it does this by increasing the amount of phosphocreatine stores in your muscles, which can rapidly donate a phosphate group to make more ATP. Additionally, creatine facilitates water entry and retention into muscle cells. So that can create this like swelling of cells.
Like that pump that you get.
Kind of, yeah. And that can serve as an anabolic signal by increasing muscle protein synthesis and decreasing muscle protein breakdown. So that's how we like build bigger muscles, etc. So what this means for you is, and it will enhance your ability to perform high intensity work and improve recovery between sets. Sounds pretty good, right?
Sounds great. So let's talk about the primary benefits, kind of like a sweet treat for your muscles. These will all be from meta-analyses, and of course, we'll list them in the show notes for you guys. But the primary benefits of creatine, there are 4 main primary benefits. One is increased strength and power. So in comparison with a placebo, creatine supplementation combined with resistance training showed modest increases to upper body and lower body strength.
Also, in conjunction with increased strength and power, it also enhances body composition. So with respect to muscular size, small increases have been shown, albeit still improvement, compared to a placebo. And alongside resistance training, supplementing with creatine increased lean body mass, reduced body fat percentage, and body fat mass.
And something to clarify here is that creatine doesn't directly burn fat, but because of your increased work capacity, like your ability to do more work and your higher power output from having more ATP, aka more energy in the cell, you can become more anabolic and faster post-exercise metabolism. So those 2 things can lead indirectly to decreases in body fat, but taking creatine isn't like a fat loss supplement.
Love it. That's a good clarification.
3, cognitive performance. So other outcomes are still under investigation, but recently we've been getting more data on cognition and creatine's support in that. Current evidence is still mixed, but some improvements have been shown, especially in older, healthy populations. So what this means for you is that now research is showing that creatine can support cognitive performance.
Love it. And the last one, and this one is actually, I wouldn't say a benefit, but is a point to talk about. So this one relates to our endurance athletes. So if you are a marathon runner, any like distance where you're pretty much relying on glucose for extended activity, studies have actually revealed that creatine supplementation, unfortunately, does not present a whole lot of benefit for you for aerobic specific performance tests. And again, this is in research, so there's no negative side effects for you taking it, but it's not ultimately going to enhance your distance physical activity. Some of the studies that we did look at, though, did have beneficial effects on anaerobic performance tests. So that means without oxygen, right? So that's where things like your strength training come in, your sprint training, anything where you're doing short bursts with longer recoveries. That's what we mean when we say anaerobic performance.
Right. And with anaerobic performance feats like doing a 10-second assault bike sprint or a sled push sprint, you need to be able to generate enough power output in order to create the force for those anaerobic efforts. So if you're doing a more like steady state, sustained, you're not getting as much muscle breakdown. So creatine isn't just like as helpful there. Like it's helpful for all the other things, but yeah, I just thought that was important to add just because creatine can still be beneficial for endurance athletes because you are getting muscle breakdown and it's still beneficial, but it's just not at as deep of a level as power output in sprinting.
Yeah. And to your point, I think that's a great point. To your point, I think that when you're doing marathons, etc., you're not only training in a one-dimensional plan. Like you probably have a day where you're doing some sprinting, you're doing some lifting. So just because we're saying like there's no benefit specifically to aerobic activity, there's still benefit to taking it in other ways that will help you.
And especially if you're someone who does a multitude of different movement modalities, right? If you're someone who runs and also lifts, or someone who does CrossFit, which has running and power output and all these things, it's kind of like a safeguard. Just take it.
Yep. So to summarize that real quick, all the studies that report on creatine and endurance, they showed a non-significant change in endurance performance in trained populations. As the most widely studied performance-enhancing supplement available, a large portion of evidence agrees that creatine supplementation is beneficial.
So what we're saying is basically just take it, right? Take the creatine. And even if you are someone who is an endurance athlete, you probably do other things too, and you need to be developing your power output. And there are some common things that we hear from people about like why they wouldn't take it or, you know, what would inhibit them. And the main one is bloating, which is, I mean, some people could see some short-term increase in total body water, which is what creatine's meant to be doing, but not to be confused with bloating. It will generally subside. Additionally, if you do notice some GI distress, some bloating, some like kind of discomfort, diarrhea, whatever, you could just reduce your dose a little bit and then gradually increase over the time. Creatine, you want to take this every single day or as consistently as possible. So that kind of eradicates your need for a loading phase. It's kind of like outdated because if you're going to take it consistently, you're going to have a consistent stream of saturation in the muscles. Mm-hmm. So if doing a loading or your dose kind of is hurting your stomach, maybe dial it down a bit. You can also split the dose. So I did this in the beginning. I was taking 8 grams of creatine. I was taking 4 in the morning and 4 at night. And not that I had any GI symptoms. I just liked that better. I felt like I got more consistent flow. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing you can try is the other thing to note is that creatine and hydration need to be besties. They need to be going hand in hand. So bloating with creatine can also come from dehydration. So creatine increases your intracellular water. So if you think of your cell like, you know, a circle, it's this little supple thing. Creatine helps get water inside of it instead of it looking like a raisin. And so sometimes bloating can happen because creatine is pulling water into the GI tract because it's a muscle too, which can make it feel like you're bloated, but really you just have more water in there, which is what we want because it helps things flow, helps bring ATP to the muscle tissue, all of that. So make sure you're hydrating enough. And what we typically will say is anywhere between 50 to 70% of your body weight in ounces of water. So if I'm, 150 pounds, I want to have 50 to 70% of that in ounces of water. And then electrolytes like sodium, chloride, potassium, magnesium can facilitate the absorption and the effectiveness of your creatine. So they really are besties.
Yeah. And another note here is that the harder you train, the more you sweat, the more sodium, potassium, magnesium that you're going to lose because it naturally excretes through your sweat, etc. So all the more reason to drink your water, drink your electrolytes if that's something that you feel like you need additional in your diet.
Yeah. And electrolytes, I would say most people should take an electrolyte. I'd say most people should take an electrolyte every day.
At minimum, just salt your food. right?
Yeah.
Like I think there was this whole craze, like especially when you and I were coming up, where salt was the enemy, right? Like
Yeah.
we always tried to find seasonings that were salt free. That was the propaganda that we fell for in our early 20s. I'm so glad that we're out of that now, but like salt your food and you'll probably be pretty good.
Yes.
So how much creatine should we take? While we can make 1 to 2 grams per day naturally in our liver and kidneys from food that we eat, supplementing with 3 to 5 grams per day increases muscle levels even further. Creatine monohydrate is the one that you want. It's currently the most widely studied and supported. All the other ones don't have enough research behind them, so they're largely a marketing tool. Also, I would add the edible creatines. Don't fucking buy those, dude. That's such a waste of money. Like, if you have a hard time remembering a scoop of powder every day, try doing the pill forms. That's fine. But the gummies, no.
I completely agree. I could not stress this enough. The creatine gummies, if you seriously cannot remember to take creatine, sure, start with them and then you'll see how good you feel and then you'll have that lived experience of why you should take it. But a thing of creatine gummies is like $60.
Dude, it's so expensive.
It's so expensive. A 2-pound bag of creatine is that much. It's like 5 cents per serving versus like $2 per serving.
Yeah, it's definitely pink taxed for sure.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, stick to creatine monohydrate. If a company is telling you that their version of creatine or their isotope of creatine is the best, it's just a marketing tool because they literally don't have research to back it up.
Agreed. And then also to further your point, you mentioned this earlier, don't worry about the loading phase. Just focus on taking a consistent dose every single day. At the end of the month, there's going to be no difference between doing that loading phase and not doing a loading phase. So those two outcomes are equated as long as you take it every single day.
And what happens if I miss a day or two? It's not a big deal, right? Because muscle creatine stores decline slowly and short gaps. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but I think it's important that if we're telling someone to do something every single day, we have to be like, well, what happens if I don't? Well, just stay consistent with it. And if you skip a whole week or 2 weeks, still, you don't need to do a loading phase. Just get back onto the same cruise control lane that you were in.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point that you make, that being consistent doesn't mean perfect. It means, bump in the road, back to the plan.
If I wanted you to be perfect, I would say be perfect. But being consistent inherently expects that there's going to be some roadblocks along the way or there's going to be some obstacles. And creatine is something that you do not have to stress about.
Yep.
Just take it as often as you can.
Yeah.
And then I do want to talk about dosing amounts. For human, this is what I typically will encourage my clients is that humans above or 150 pounds or less aim for about 5 grams, 3 to 5 grams. But if you're 150 pounds or heavier, you might want to consider taking a slightly elevated dose, maybe closer to 10 grams. And you can also start capitalizing on some of those cognitive benefits from some of the newer research. We can't 100% say that yet, but it's just, yeah.
There's no real risk to it, right? It's a pretty safe supplement overall. So if you're reading some of the studies that are coming out about cognition and the effects on memory, et cetera, okay, try it. There's not a whole lot of harm to taking it. Which leads us into our next little topic of safety. So actually creatine, like I said, appears to be pretty safe in short and long-term studies, some of which have lasted over 5 years. There are not many studies in children or pregnant adults. So that's something to be mindful of if you are a parent of a kid considering creatine or are pregnant. Just consult your doctor. Trust them. Don't listen to us for this advice. Trust them. However, if you remember from the supplement episode, number 11, recall that the supplement industry leaves much to be desired, right? So buy creatine monohydrate and from brands that are at least using some form of third-party testing and are NSF certified.
Right. And I think the other part that's important to acknowledge is that even though there aren't tests on children and pregnant adults, you know your body and you know yourself best. So in the pregnant women that I've coached, I've had each of them ask their doctors about taking creatine while they're pregnant. And I'm not guiding you to do this, but they've been taking creatine during their pregnancy and it's been great. We've had no adverse effects. It's been all good.
Awesome.
So I do suggest considering it. But another common thing that we see, especially in people who are, more so trained and have been lifting for a while, that creatinine labs come back high. And if you're supplementing with creatine, it's kind of expected for your creatinine levels to be high because creatinine is what your body naturally makes when it breaks down creatine. But doctors use this marker to check kidney health. So if you're supplementing with creatine, your levels might look a little bit higher, but it's not because your kidneys are failing, but simply because you have more creatine in your system that your body's processing. So if you lift weights or have a higher muscle mass or eat a higher protein diet, you can actually ask your doctor to run another additional test. Honestly, some doctors will run this already, but the eGFR test or calculation, it estimates how well your kidneys are filtering blood and is adjusted actually for age and sex, which is a way more accurate marker for kidney function than just creatinine. Because creatinine, you want to look at your bun ratio and all these other things too. So overall, if you get your labs back and you see the creatinine's high and your doctor's like, stop taking creatine, I would suggest you say, can we check my eGFR instead of just my creatinine for my kidney? And then typically they're covered by insurance. It ensures you're not misdiagnosed with kidney issues. And also, just because you have an athletic or you're supplementing wisely.
I love it. That's such a good little tip because I think some of the misinformation or inflammatory media around creatine is, it's bad for your kidneys. Just like people have said with protein, like too high of protein, like don't eat too much protein because it's bad for your liver and kidneys. Well, I don't know if that's the full truth, right?
It makes them work hard and we want them to work hard.
Yep. I think that's a great point. Do you have any last minute thoughts?
So in the beginning, you asked me for an antidote about creatine and I couldn't think of one. And when I hired my first coach, I was in a time in my life where I literally couldn't be consistent with anything. I felt like my life was all over the place. And if you feel that way, I literally put creatine in my coffee. That was how committed I was because I knew that I was going to have coffee every single day, no matter what. And so if I added so I started making like creatine coffee lattes because I was like, this is the only way for me to get it in. And then when I started feeling like, wow, I feel stronger. I feel like I can recover better between sets. I feel like my last couple reps of my lifts didn't feel as hard. Like I felt like I could really fight through the sticky point better. Yeah. I started having that lived experience of like, oh, I know why I'm taking creatine. This is what's happening. Typically, you don't see those results for about like 3 to 6 weeks. Like it takes a couple weeks.
It takes a while.
So if you're struggling with staying consistent with any supplements, this is just a point for habit stacking. Pair it with something that you do every single day already. And one last thing was just to take note about how you're feeling in your training session when you start, because there's going to be a critical moment where you're like, oh, wow, I can really push through things. And I think that's a huge carrot to look for. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think like going back to your point, like going back to the RPE, like you can rate your session, your entire session on the RPE too. Like if you get to the end and you're like, man, I'm gassed. Like we've probably all had leg days where you're like, I'm going to be sore tomorrow. Like give yourself a rating and see how that adjusts with creatine supplementation over time. I was going to add that my anecdote for creatine is, I mentioned this to you before, that I'm really bad at remembering creatine, which is why I've never taken it, because the one thing that I know about myself is that I don't remember these things. I joke all the time that, my yearly bout of trying to remember to take creatine, but I've been really good for the last 2 weeks. And what I've been doing is I make myself a little yummy treat at the end of the night. I use the liquid IVs, the powder, and I do one of those. And then I do some ice cold water, my creatine, and I mix it up. And that's like my sweet treat just to sip and drink on as I'm getting ready for bed.
Okay, can we just give you a little pat on the back for having electrolytes and creatine? You said sweet treat. That doesn't seem like a sweet treat to me personally, because I eat.
It's more of a mental sweet treat.
Candy. Yes, so that would be amazing, and also the chocolate elements.
Yeah. Ooh.
Do you ever have those?
I love Element because they're super salty. I should try that next. That would be good.
The chocolate Element is like a hot chocolate. So you get like super hot water, put the Element in it. I'll do a little splash of oat milk, but then you could put your creatine, you could put, other powdered supplements that you need.
Definitely going to do that now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Well, I think that's a wrap on today's episode. If you're feeling more creatine-formed and a little less creatine confused, our job here is done. As always, we're here to break down the buzz and bring you the facts, no fluff, just gains. So don't forget to share this episode with a friend and connect with us on IG, which is at @overt_thinking podcast, at Brianna Lamb, at Kelsey Michelle. And we will see you in the next episode.